It's been an interesting journey. I think a lot of people come to become practitioners in the wellness world because they've had their own like mega aha, right? That
Hmm.
I need to shift something in me. And I'm not dissimilar in that. But I think what has made my path a little bit more unique and interesting is that I actually grew up in an incredibly healthy household. Grew up eating, I mean, literally, we used to call them grass sandwiches. My mom would put sprouts on sandwiches. Sometimes it was some cheese from the farm,
Hmm.
and the bread was always homemade. My mom made her own yogurt, her own bread. She had like mason jars of like herbs and tinctures for when we got sick.
That
I was
sounds so
never
good.
it was so, now it sounds amazing, right?
Yeah.
But back then she was a total wacko. But it was a cool upbringing. Like I had a really interesting understanding of food, and I come from a really long line of culinary professionals. Like my ancestors way, way back were chefs for royalty in Hungary, and food has always been a really integral part of family bonding and connection
Hmm.
going back generations and generations. So in addition to the sort of health food, there's also this other element of cooking and this deep connection to nourishment and cooking your own food and what that means. And my mom, as hippy dippy as she was also this incredible, incredible cook. I grew up in the kitchen. I grew up cooking with my mom, cooking with my great aunt Mamie. She's probably my greatest food influence. And really from a very young age, we learned how to access food, how to cook food for ourselves, how to cook food for our families. And it was absolutely 100% an interest in mine right from the start. And then as I sort of went on my own journey of growing up and becoming a woman and moving away, when I went to college, I think that was some of the first times that I started to understand what junk food was. There was a bit of an addictive
Mm.
tendency around food for me.
Yep.
And that wasn't something that I experienced in my home, which now I understand because all of those foods served me well.
Hmm.
And as soon as I introduced some of these like junkier foods, I remember my college roommate had cheese. Remember that the cheese in a can, that spray cheese?
Oh, Cheese Whiz.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah. So that was like such a bizarre concept to me, right? We would have
Yeah.
like cheese from the farm, like real cheese. But I ate it, and I ate it on like the Ritz crackers that were under her bed. And I was definitely interested in those foods. And looking back now, I see that that was maybe the start for me of how foods can be so addictive in my system.
Hmm.
So, then I sort of went through college and I was fine. I was a theater major in college and a dance major, and I was dancing like 20 some odd hours a week. And so, I was very active. And even though I was eating some crappy foods, I still had enough sensibility around food and taking care of my body that I was okay. Then I moved to New York City.
Mm.
And then I started working in restaurants. And, within about 5 years of being in New York, I put on a lot of weight. And I was feeling so out of sorts with myself and my body and depressed and, working crazy, crazy hours and double shifts, 12, 14 hours without a break, without any food break. And there was this real battle going on between myself and my body and food. I
Hmm.
remember waking up so extraordinarily unhappy, overweight, exhausted. Like it literally hurt to wake up and walk to the bathroom in the morning because my body was just spent. It was just done. And, I was auditioning and trying to make it in musical theater and not doing well and just feeling so unhappy. And I went for a walk and I came across this like brochure about nutrition, and I was like, that's it. I'm done. I have to make a change, and it has to happen now. And I literally that night, there was like an open house for this school. And that night I went to the open house and I signed up, and I was like, I got to make a change. And I think that that was the first for me. That was my first like real internal personal shift to change what was happening in my own life.
Hmm.
And then I started to take care of myself, which was a completely foreign concept at that point. I had spent like nearly 10 years just sort of denying what my needs were in nutritionally, emotionally, biologically. And, it was a long process. This was not an overnight success story at all. It was a really long process to learn how to care for myself and how to nourish myself. And as I went through the process of really deeply understanding nutrition and understanding how food affects you, and then using myself as the guinea pig, right? Like trying all of these different sort of diets, I mean, diet in the sense of like, I'm going to try to be vegan right now. How does that feel in my body? What does it feel like if I just eat raw food for a little while? How does that feel in my body? What if I focus on protein? What if I do this? And really understanding what food served me on a very deep level. And then I had to do some really, really deep work to look at the addiction. And I did. I was, I really had a pretty strong addiction to food. And that was all emotional stuff. Mm-hmm. So that sort of brought me into this world. And through my own journey, I think I've crafted a practice that is very much focused on helping women go on the journey too. Helping women who are, most of my clients have at least 40 plus pounds to lose. Up to 150 pounds to lose, and beginning that journey from a place of immense self-care, immense love, incredible positivity, and being able to just kind of put on a new lens to look at your life and your relationship with food.